Mm. Right then. So today, the plan is to do a few more missions of Dante Must Die mode. Um, as for specifics, we're gonna have to wait and see really, because last session was 10 missions. I managed to get quite lucky with them, but given this session has the more annoying bosses in the game, it probably won't be 10, so there's only 23 missions. I'll probably do the next 5 or 6 missions. That way I'll knock out the last 2 Griffin fights. Well, the 2 Griffin fights first run, because we skipped the first Griffin fight. Round 2 of Nilo Angelo, and that should be it. I could, if I wanted to, do the first round of Nightmare, but I kind of want to wait on that for a while, because Nightmare's already given me plenty of problems in normal run-throughs, so this increased health and everything, I'm not looking forward to it, so I'll probably call a break after this session, just for the first Nightmare fight. And then that way, for the next session, if everything comes to it, I can then just get some red orbs in the background, so I can start buying loads of untouchables and stuff to keep me alive through that fight, so I can just get through it as soon as possible. It's a fairly standard section really. Just keep an eye on where the floating orb goes. I'm just clearing out these fetishes before it gets too serious, as it did now. These fetishes get really damn annoying when you get too deep, so to say. Especially once they hit the Devil Trigger mode. That's almost unbearable, really. And going to go back to the strategy that I went with last session. Just grenade gun my problems away. Get pot shots off to get my Devil Trigger back, especially since the grenade launcher does really good damage. And that way I can just rush in with my Devil Trigger fully charged and just clean house, so to say. That would do. Because they're going to infinitely spawn until I follow the light. So just check the tombstone, evaluate the mist, or I must choose the right path to enter the lost land. Only those who protect the weak, the orb light, shall have the power to decipher the right path. Keep an eye on it very carefully. Get caught in enemies, like it has with that fetish. But once it's gone through the door, you can be certain. Because this game does have a habit of the light orb reaching the very end, you're just about to cross the doorway, and then once before it hits the doorway, it just turns around and goes straight onto the other path. They'll probably do it this boot actually. Would be nice. Okay, it's been nice for a change. It might just be this remaster, but I'm dead certain the original version had more mist effects in play. And this game started, there was another shadow, brilliant. We're going to be precise. Same strategy as last time, well, last stream. I'm just trying to get out, bait them into attacks that I can dodge better. Wait for them to show their core. Now just go Devil Trigger and spam stingers into their chest to deal with it, really. Although that's going to have to change considering they're already active. Nah, that was a bad run. I need to be a little bit quicker on the attack there to single off one of them. But gonna have to wait. Hopefully this section's going to be nice and put us back in with them. Or it can put us back at the start. I might just try a different strategy actually. Might just try to do guesswork and just try my luck going down one of the corridors to see if that's, if it works or if the pathway is only triggered by the light. Because if it doesn't necessarily have to be triggered by the light, I could get around it by just running away from them and just seeing where it goes. Let's go this way. Very strange puzzle this. I say puzzle, it's not really a puzzle, it's just a standard battle, but because of the setup of it. There's one move you do need to be aware of these blades, I believe they're called. They do have a tendency to launch spikes from their fingers, like their claws even. It's not too noticeable, well, not noticeable if that's the word. It's not too frequent, so don't get too concerned about distance these guys, just get in and get your damage done. Especially on Dante Must Die mode where you just need to make sure they don't last for too long before they Devil Trigger, because that can be a killer. Thankfully the enhanced version of Kick 13 works wonders. It always does though, thankfully. Or if you're feeling risky you could try the critical kill, but again that's just like in hard mode, the critical kills are a bit more wonky. So I'd say focus on other methods really. This is getting too dangerous, I'm going to have to try just running and seeing if this works. If it doesn't work then it doesn't really matter. I can just farm the fetches for health again. Yeah, it's taking me back. Went the wrong way. Oh well, it's not too big of a deal really. Going the wrong way. There we go. Not bothering with Nightmare Beta this mission, it's just there's very few times I've found Nightmare Beta useful, and this is not one of them. I was going to say it's good for boss fights, but I'm not too sure on that, because of the whole Devil Trigger draining, and especially on Dante Must Die mode where you need your Devil Trigger at every moment you can for the damage output, or for regular fights, just to, counter their Devil Trigger states. orbs, that's not good. Just need to prep the hand guns, get them ready. There, wrong button. Oh well. I'm probably just gonna have to kickstart this Encounter the Shadows with Devil Triggered guns, just to try and eke out the first phase easier. Or the lucky counter can work, that's good. Just wasting a couple seconds in the air and just wait for this last one to die. There we are, that's it, dead. Since I've critical killed it, full heal. But unfortunately, you don't get a double trigger from a critical kill on the shadows because it was dead so quick. It's going to take a while to get the double trigger necessary for this fight. Yeah, because I didn't have the double trigger available at the time, I'm going to take 2 cycles of him to make him die. I could just do the Devil Sting, well, the Devil Triggered Stinger twice, and it probably would have finished it. Again, just as I said before, don't stay on the ground too long with these guys. You nil to at the very start of your run. Yeah, when you try it on normal mode your first time through, when you don't have the skills available, but once you've got air hike for Alasta, then just keep in the air as much as you can, because a lot of its attacks are ground based. The only ones that aren't too ground based are its spikes that come out of the ground. They've got a fairly good amount of height to them, so for that I'd recommend just jumping up, and then once the spike's about to come, just do the air hike and change your direction, and that should get you safe. Anyway, this is sort of a new enemy, the Cyclops. You technically get an early glimpse of these in one of the secret missions. I didn't show off for the scope of this run, but the mission is about getting the 2 Cyclops to kill each other through friendly fire. And that's usually one of the preferred methods for these guys, just because that way you don't have to worry about it too much, because the in-game bestiary even shows it, saying that there they are, Cyclops. Right, that's it. Yeah, at the very bottom. Their armor is pretty strong, but if you use Devil Trigger, you can bypass the armor. But be careful, guys, because they're very similar to Phantom in just about every way you can think of, including general damage output. So, just like the last time, just using Devil Trigger to, well, not Devil Trigger, I'm using the grenade launcher to trigger Devil Trigger runes, because it's really not advisable to fight against these guys without Devil Trigger. Change weapons actually. I haven't used E3 much on these guys, but I do get the feeling it'll be a bit better for Inferno's sake. Yeah, that Inferno move that E3 has is just so damn good. Very expensive. I want to say it's the most expensive move in the game, but I might be misremembering that. But no matter how much it is, it's absolutely worth it for just clearing out Frosts. Well, especially Frost anyway, because they just take so much punishment. It's really not enjoyable. There's no items around here. Just double checking, because I haven't fully checked every, tool place. Since there's that hole, if you climb on certain things, you do get red orbs for your troubles. And considering I haven't been able to check yet, you can only have 1 vital star at a time from the shop. but I'm fairly safe to say that it's green orbs, bulk vital stars are going to be quite expensive in this run through, which is something I want to avoid using wherever possible. Thankfully though, this mission is quite a short one once you know where to go. I was only held back there, got a B rank because of the maze area, and because I had problems with the shadows, and because I did a second cycle just to prepare for them a bit. That's what held you back. It's one of the more forgiving ones I'd say for S ranks. I haven't S ranked this game fully, but it's just one of those things I don't really do. I like to take my time with the fights and exploration, so I never try and speedrun it, so to say, for those S's. But yeah, and because of how short it is, it's going to be quite an easy one to S rank. Same goes for the one of the missions I did last stream. That was the one with the melancholy soul that you get after the first fight with Angelo. Because of how short that mission is, if you just beeline straight after killing the shadow, you'll usually get an S rank just from time alone. And that's a Death's Life. Lovely. Same rules apply as before. You don't want to mess around with these guys too much. Just get above them and try and helm break them, because they're immune to general attacks. But guns, only sword attacks on their cow skull work, which is quite easy to trigger from the regular process. Blue M&A, I believe, is the plus item, because it's definitely not a blue orb fragment. I've got them all. There is a blue orb fragment in this little passageway, which, as you saw a second ago, is now a yellow orb. And considering I had to spend the yellow orb last mission because I didn't want to restart, I might as well just take this one. Because now I've got 34, which should be okay. I'm mainly hoarding up my yellow orbs for Angelo's third phase, and all three fights with Nightmare. They're going to be the biggest problems. By technicality, Mundus. But with Mundus, since that mission is just a fight, and the first phase of Mundus can just be easily cheated through by just spending a few Devil Trigger runes. Devil Trigger stars. I'll probably just go that method and just use those Devil Trigger stars to put up my Devil Triggers, do a few of those ult attacks, and then that way I don't have to worry too much about that fight. Then I can just go straight through to the the actual fight on foot, which is quite challenging, I'd say. I found it quite nightmarish on hard mode. Wasn't too bad, but it was still, a significant kick up just from how different it is. But no, that's the three major rules I'm predicting. Technically 5 because of the 5 fights because of the more than one fight in Nightmare. But again, I'm still not entirely convinced on how I'm going to tackle Nightmare. One method I'm going to try is because I know of the strategy of using the as it's known, the Nightmare sequence you can get with him in his goo form. What I'm probably going to attempt is to wait until the last minute or so to use that, because since it's a straight flat damage, I'd want to ideally attack the other pieces first, because if you break an orb, it changes its attack strategies. So once his attack strategies get quite nasty, my plan is wait around for a second, just dodge and weave, and then from that point just wait for the timer to go out on the mechanisms nearby, because once they go, it goes back into some goo form instead of its solid state, and then in that, just, you know, it's like near the last 30% of its health, go into a nightmare fight, defeat the nightmare sequence, and then it's just got a few hits left. And at that point, I should have a devil trigger gauge from fighting the mini boss inside of it, and I also have gotten some health back, so I can just go straight into Ifrit and Inferno spam him to death. Or if it's getting too risky, I've got Holy Waters in my inventory. Got 9 of them to be specific, which could come in quite useful, I'd say. Why is this? There we are. Yeah, that's meant to be a little fragment as well, but because the whole duplicates become yellow orb, so it's now yellow orb. Right, just get up here and collect. I want to say this is the symbol of, oh yeah, sign of chastity. We need to use that on the chalice, and doing that will trigger the second fight of Nilo Angelo, so ideally I need to come prepared for that fight. I would fight those blades, but there's too many of them in the area and they just overcrowd me, so I'm just going to have to go a bit more safe and just play it by eye on the Nilo Angelo fight. Give me half. They've given me almost full health back, so that should be okay actually. Ah, yeah, it's down below. There's another one, so okay, I'm back to 4 health. This should be good. Chest tea, here we go. Divine dead, lovely. Rock wall. And here we are. Yeah, just like the last fight, I'm gonna have to go grenade gun to get on the defensive and just coax out the full devil trigger gauge, because this guy is quite agile and he barely gets interrupted by attacks unless you're in devil trigger mode, so that's gonna have to be the strat for this fight, unfortunately. It's a very slow mode, but it will work. Because if not, he does something like that, which will two-shot me. Maybe not two-shot, actually. Because if I remember, this game has a mechanic just like Bayonetta where you don't die from one hit. It gives you like a second chance with like 0 HP. There we are. That's the devil trigger gauge. So, just come over for a sec, collect my bearings. And now I can actually start wailing on him. Unless he does something like that move where you can see it coming. If his blade glows blue, that means you can't interrupt his attacks, which is a major problem. Right there, I was really lucky to make it out alive. And yeah, that's devil trigger out. back to just roll cancelling and grenading him to get my gauge back. It's going to take 3 cycles, I think. Yeah, this is definitely leaning towards 3 Devil Trigger cycles, because yeah, that's definitely. Thankfully, because this fight is differently set up, it's a bit more predictable. Whereas I'd say the first and the third fight are far more unpredictable. For different reasons though. The third fight is just mental because of the amount of attacks he has at his disposal. So you can't really get a solid pattern down on him. Whereas in the first fights, because he has 3 distinct phases to his fight, it's just very risky. Because of, you probably would have seen it in the last stream, because of the way that he has to wait for you to get to him, he's usually waiting with a ready sword strike. And most of the time you're just going to get blindsided by it, there's no way to avoid it. And because of that, land on this sword there, but because of the whole system of his waiting for you and the sword's ready, and because of the 2.5 damage introduced in hard mode and Dante Must Die mode, you really don't get any chances to, take a hit. Every hit means something in a boss fight. Something that the enemies don't really mean as much for, because at the end of the day, the enemies, their strength isn't in a single hit, like say a Duck's Souls game, where if you've got hit by 1 hit, that can change the tide of a fight, so you need to really be careful and pay attention to every attack put forward to them. Whereas in this game, I'd say enemies are far more combo oriented, and their purpose is more not to get 1 strong hit in, it's to get 5 or 6 hits in to deal similar amounts of damage. But again, it's hard to say exactly what I mean. But in Dante Must Die mode, because of the 2.5 health on bosses and 2.5 damage from bosses, there is a really distinct game to play here. We need to be defensive and attacking at the right times, not to waste any opportunities. But and that's something I think just comes to the territory really, because the first game is just one of the harder ones I'd say in general. Not because of archaic mechanics though, mind you, just because it does offer up a lot more challenges. Second only to Devil May Cry 3, I'd say. Because I mean 4 and 2 especially just aren't that hard, and the reboot is just a joke. There is no difficulty to be had in that mode. Whereas in the original games, if I was to do a hard difficulty run, I'd be running through so many problems, whereas I found even some of the second hardest difficulties in the reboot just didn't offer a challenge. They just weren't that interesting. The only one which I think would be hard is the Hell and Hell mode just because of the 3-hit stipulation. But even then, the enemies are just so weak in that game and passive that it really wouldn't matter much. Might just try U3 actually, see how he goes. So it might be a worthwhile change. Nope, U3 wasn't that good, it didn't give me the same amount of damage as Elastin, so back to Elastin it is. Hopefully that won't cost me this run, but Orb attack, Orb attack, Orb attack, Orb. Yeah, that's 5 orbs, 6 orbs. That's the most orbs I've seen him fire at one time. Plus, I don't know, because of him being a bit preoccupied with the orbs there, I could get a few pot shots off the grenade launcher. And that's almost got me my Devil Trigger back. I mean, technically speaking, I could trigger the Devil Trigger right now, because you only need 4 or 3 runes to trigger the Devil mode. But, again, on this mode, I need as much Devil Trigger time as I can get, so it's quite important to make sure I hoard up a full gauge to get the max amount of time in. If not, then I could be in the middle of an attack and run out of Devil Trigger at the wrong moment. And if that happens, it could be game over for me. Again, thankfully I didn't run out of Devil Trigger there, it was just that I got a bit reckless. So I'm going to have to consider a change of plans. And if all gets wrong, I have got Devil Trigger stars. Got 11 of them, I only need 3 or 4 for Mundus' last fight. Provided I don't use a few more in reserves for the actual final fight with Mundus, but again, that's a major if. I probably won't be, just because the ground fight with Mundus isn't too bad. It's not about the Devil Trigger damage, it's just about keeping aware and on the defensive because of how many attacks he has at his disposal that can be quite changing. For example, the dragon attack from the lava, that can be quite devastating. Especially if you're trying to go after the Devil Trigger runes to wail on him again. I forgot the grenade gun. No. That's one thing I've always liked about this game, is that unlike Devil May Cry 2 and 3 for that regard, as well as 4 actually, 4 is the worst, the bosses in this game all feel distinct and, you know, imposing. I found a lot of the fights in 2 just didn't exist. Like, I believe his name was Orangera. He was a very bland fight that I'd have many problems trying to remember. He was a giant ape inside a train station. Didn't really have any special attacks because he was just so bland. Whereas Devil May Cry 3 had some fantastic fights, such as the Doppelganger, but it also had some really bad ones like the giant centipede demon. And it's, you know, there's not that many bad fights in 3, but there are still a few that do kind of, you know, disappoint me. With 4, most of the bosses feel like an afterthought. Especially I forget his name. The fire one. I would look, but it's a bit busy. But the fire centaur, he just felt so rushed in, and the fight with both Nero and Dante, they don't mean a thing. They're just so poorly made. But again, that's my main problem with 4 in general, is the bosses in that game just really don't have the same sort of impact or challenge. They're just really awkwardly made. That means you get quite a lot of pot shots. That didn't go well. My health is red now, so if my theory is correct, that means I haven't got the next, I haven't got another hit. This is my last one. Actually, has the green orb regened? No, it hasn't. That's a shame. Oh, full Devil Trigger gauge. Time to get to town on him, really. Yeah, last hit. I am thinking what I should try is obviously going with the grenade gun. That would help a lot. But also, what I should try is just getting a 5 or a 6 wound gauge and just starting off there, because if not, this fight's going to take a bit too long and he's going to have more opportunities to hit me. Not to mention, the main problem seems to be I keep on getting attacked during the first cycle, so to say, of my Devil Trigger. I'm trying to charge it up for the first time, because after the second, once I'm starting charging up my second gauge, it seems to have calmed down a bit. Because at the very start of this fight, he does act very unpredictable with the dive kick, and then he just, he does get a little bit more erratic. Like right now, he's got plenty of combos at his disposal. I think I just need to try and get in a bit more. Because unlike the last fight, he does mix in a bit more close quarters combat with kicks and punches, which is, quite an interesting change in his fighting style. Because, spoiler warning, this guy is Virgil, Dante's brother, and in 3 he is famous for using his katana, known as Yamato, and in that, he doesn't really mix punches and kicks with his attacks. He just almost purely katana based, with minor exceptions such as the Force Edge. He uses the Force Edge in 3 to go with the Yamato. I want to use an untouchable, but I can't be sure how long that will last. And also, I'm terrified to think how much it's going to cost, because yellow orbs used to cost 1,000 or so on normal difficulty. They're 6,000 here, so if the untouchable was 2,000 there, we're probably looking at 12,000 for an untouchable, which really doesn't help much because I need 3 of them for Nightmare, and at the moment I wouldn't be able to afford 3 untouchables. I mean, granted, there are a few free ones I'm aware of. I can't remember their exact location though, so as far as I'm concerned, they're not existent. Close. Again, as I said before, when he looks like he's about to draw his sword whilst you're attacking him, that is your cue to get away as soon as you can, because there's no way to block it. Well, interrupt it anyway. There isn't really any blocks in this game, there is just dodging. Good parry, but Devil May Cry 2 doesn't have a block feature as far as I'm aware. Devil May Cry 3 introduces the style system, and one of the styles is the Royal Guard, and that does give you a traditional block button, but it's not a style I use often. I'm much more into the Trickster playstyle because I prefer the dashes, just so I can keep a positional advantage over my enemies. What if I try something different? Is the Cyclops? Oh no, this is how I'm meant to go to Nilo. So what I'm thinking is that if we go back to the Cyclops just outside, if they're still there, they should be. If they're still there. Secret mission. That can work just as well. So I'm just looking for something to get my Devil Trigger gauge back. Like that. Might as well try to... There we are, get the orb too. Nicely done. And exit, that should be mission clear. Hopefully. It's start me at not full health. Looks like I'm gonna have to just jump in like this, see how it goes. On the first though, since I've got the full gauge to begin with, I can immediately start fighting him. And with that, that should try and kick him out of the phases a bit. Try and get me some better patterns, so to say. Got stuck in air mode for Elasta. That really wasn't good. Because now I've just wasted that whole gauge. And most of my health for that matter. So if this does end me, you know, at low levels, I might just use an untouchable on him. Again, I really don't want to, because the 3 fights with Nightmare, that's where I want to use my untouchable, especially on the final phase of, well, the final fight with Nightmare, because that is just not enjoyable because of the final fight area of it, because it ends with the fight, the course just ejecting laser beams everywhere, and there's a giant flying boomerang around, and it's very risky to dodge. So ideally for that part, I just want to pop the untouchable and just go to town without having to worry about getting interrupted or attacked. But, I've got to get through this guy first before I can even think about the Nightmare. But there we are, there's that attack again. When he's drawing the sword, you really can't counter that. And also that overhead attack, well, it's more like the high time and helm attack, if anything. Helm breaker, even not helm. But because that's a 2-hit combo and the massive damage in this mode, that's not quite an instant kill, but it's pretty much an instant kill to every other person. Yes, whilst we're doing this fight, I can at least gush a bit more about the soundtrack in this game. It's fantastic. My personal favourites is Lock and Load, which is the second battle theme. It shows up during the Colosseum section, but this section in particular. And also this battle theme, known as Ultraviolet. It's just such a great piece, and it really does fit what Michelangelo / Virgil is, where you've got the guitar piece to remind you, like, this isn't, this is a demon, but you've got the orchestral stuff which really does fit in with the theme for Sparta, which is, Dante and Virgil's father. It's all, which I believe is known as Devil Monday or Devil Sunday, one of the two. If I go below 25 yellow orbs, I'm just going to refresh this mission. So I do not want to be wasting this many yellow orbs on what should be one of the, not easier, but like the middle fights. Especially since there's only a few missions before Griffin. And Griffin's second fight is quite a pain, because he's almost constantly in the air, so at that point all you can reliably do is just grenade him. But because he's got 2.5 health, he's going to take a lot of punishment, which your grenade launcher isn't going to quite do that fast. And you've got plenty of other attacks to dodge in the meantime with him, such as this little phoenix he likes to summon. And that's just the easy bits, because he also is very happy to spam lightning attacks, which really aren't that easy to dodge. Again, just the attacks in Dante Must Die mode and hard, because they both do similar amounts of damage. It's just lethal. The difference between Dante Must Die and hard mode is that in hard mode and below you can actually recharge health whilst you're in Devil Trigger. It's not a lot, it's like a progressive growth. Like you just recharge, like say 2% a second, but it does make a world of difference. mainly because of, as I've said before, the one-hit mechanic, where in this game, if your health bar is red, that's it, you're going to die. But if your health bar isn't red and you get hit with an attack that could kill you, you will survive it. You won't have any health left, but you have enough to survive. And if you've got Devil Trigger on normal difficulty or below, not above even, yeah, just on regular difficulties, you can then just Devil Trigger back to a safe health level, and you're back in the fight for a little while. But that's something this mode doesn't have, unfortunately. So that right there, I got caught in what I think was the roundhouse kick, and I've lost a full health bar from it. My health is red though, so I think this is pretty much curtains. Unless I can keep him like this and just keep him quiet. And this fight's given me quite a few troubles I didn't expect. Okay, there we are, health bars, that's it, definitely one hit left. So with a little bit of luck, I should get him in the next Devil Trigger cycle, provided this one doesn't mess up like that. They were caught on the roof, there wasn't much I could do. Oh. If I get him to below 30%, I might just drop a untouchable on him. Just because I can certainly get him in one Devil Trigger cycle from there, and untouchable gives you Devil Trigger whilst also making you invincible, so I can just spam him to death. And then that way I can have a check with the Divinity statue and see how much I have to give up for another untouchable. It's not going to be pretty though, I know that. It's going to be a lot of red orbs. But if that's what's taking to take to get past this guy, I don't really have a choice. I'm getting too greedy with his attacks. For some reason, even though I was Devil Triggered, which should keep him stunned during the majority of my attacks, he just had armor frames there for some of his more quick attacks, which just eat away health and nothing else. Alright, last try. I mean, I'm certain I'm not going to win this one, but I can at least see how much my items cost after this. Okay, game, I was pausing there, I was want to use an item. Maybe not. Right. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a dead run. You have to restart this mission. That's just too much wastage. But before I do that, I'm just going to use... Let them attack me, there we are. use the Vital Star, but also use the Untouchable, because there is a all borrow shop down here, so I can just check prices now. That's one thing that's really strange about this game in comparison to all the other ones. You can only buy like one or two of each item from a shop. You can't, well, depending on the item, I think you can have up to 99 yellow orbs purchased from the shop, but like holy water, you can only buy 3 of them. You have to find the rest to get above that. Same with Untouchables really, you can't buy more than 1 in your inventory at any time. You have to find them naturally. Let's see. It wasn't too bad of a loot. How much are the items? 5,000 and 6,000. Okay, that's quite affordable. Alright then. Set. Once more with feeling. So, if it gives me any more problem, I might just shell out and buy another Untouchable. But again, that's a major if. Ideally, I don't want to be wasting any items on him because there aren't many places to reliably farm red orbs. And I don't want to be wasting all my money just yet, because as I've said, nightmares exist, and Neo Angelo Phase 3, that is going to be an absolute item drain. I can guarantee I'm going to have to spend both items on him. And if I do that, then that's 11,000 souls down the drain. Not souls, I'm getting God of War now. But you know, that's 11,000 red orbs, which is just something I can't feasibly do. Because I mean, I've only got 31,000, roughly 33, by the time I defeat Neo Angelo for the second time. So with that, I can theoretically buy a full set of each 3 times. You know, a set of a green orb and a green star and an Untouchable. But that is a major risk, because then I run the chance of getting to Mundus and not having any items for him, which would be catastrophic. I'd really want an Untouchable in my pocket saved for him, just in case the fight with him goes south, which I'm almost certain it will, because even in hard mode he really does drain you quite quickly, and you know, I couldn't reliably tell half his attacks apart. I mean, I could figure out like it's that attack, but just the dodging on some of them was just very weird, which meant that I took a few hits I shouldn't have. Ah, is this? I'm hoping this is a Devil Trigger Star. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want it to be a Devil Trigger Star, I'm just hoping it was, so that I've got more saved up. Because I don't want to be spending any red orbs on Devil Trigger Stars, because DT Star, or purple stars they are in this game, they are quite expensive, and because of that, they're just not worth going after. Because, as you saw, 6,000 for Untouchable, and Untouchable makes you invincible for a set amount of time, and it gives you Devil Trigger for that amount of time, as well as giving you a natural Devil Trigger gauge, which is just so much better, it's not even funny. And, you know, it does just raise a few questions, I'd say. And that should be the majority of the blades dealt with. Yep. There's some this way though, so yeah, we'll go shotgun on these guys, that might be more useful. Oh yeah, and I was speaking of the music earlier. This is Lock and Load, the theme you're hearing right now. Yeah, as you can see, the enemies don't deal that much damage, even on hard or Dante Must Die mode. I say interchangeably because Dante Must Die mode and hard mode give the same damage values. But, you know, it really is more about combos. Because these enemies don't go for just a pot shit, they usually go into a combo on you. And that is where you lose most of your health. Which is, personally speaking, how I prefer damage to be dealt. I mean, I can adjust to the Dark Souls style where it is just, you know, they've got a couple of attacks and you just got to stay really mindful of all of those attacks to succeed. But if I was given a choice, I would go for this one because there is just more at stake, so to say. Like, a mistake can cost a lot more in that sort of style. Which is something I've always found God of War kind of strange at. Because it's like a weird hybrid mix between, you know, proper combo-based action games such as a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or any other game in this genre you can think of, because I know there's a few, like Metal Gear Rising, and between more traditional style of games, where the enemies do have combos, but they seem to have like a mixture of combos and single attacks, and it does disrupt the flow quite a bit, I'd say, in my opinion. But, oh well, what are you gonna do? No, I'm just gonna do the same thing as we did last round, just bring out the grenade gun, just get the secret mission done and over with to get my devil trigger. Because that did work with last time. There we are. Yellow orb get. And in. Secret mission clear. I'm missing a nick of health, but again, it's down to my die mode, so it doesn't really matter. But what I can do is no, there's no way to skip that yellow green orb. Unless I was to jump from below, but that's hard to say. Oh, I didn't even need to go up here, I'm thinking of later. Yeah, if I leave that green orb there, in theory I should be able to come back down during the Nero fight and collect it. And if that happens, I should be able to get a little bit more health in without having to sacrifice red orbs or items. Because that's, you know, I don't want to waste everything on this fight. He's not worth it. Especially because something like that can happen, which just negates half of your progress. No, don't go aerial mode. That's the one thing I really wish there was an option to disable in this mode is, well, in Demo Code 1 is the alternate mode of the devil triggers. Because Helmbreaker is a brilliant attack on this guy, but because of Air Raid, you can't reliably do it in devil trigger mode. Because it's just a bit of a gamble between if it does that over the Air Raid or Helmbreaker even. So, you know, you can't reliably do it whilst you're not devil triggered, which kind of negates the point of this mode, because you do need Devil Trigger for these guys for the damage output, because without Devil Trigger you're just not dealing any damage to these guys. The same goes for Ifrit in a way. One of my favourite moves to use on Ifrit is the jumping dive kick. It's very good damage. It can get you. It really closes the distance between enemies, and it's just generally a very reliable move to pull off. But that button input is used for Inferno in Devil Trigger mode, which really, it's good. But Inferno has good damage, but also a very high cost on your Devil Trigger gauge. I want to say it uses like 2 units just to do that move, which doesn't help much, because you want to be in Devil Trigger for as long as possible, but to get the damage out with E3 especially, you've got that and Kick 13 to use, and just because of the whole system in place with the cost, it really does mean you've got a trade-off between duration or damage on this mode. Because if it was normal difficulty or hard mode, where you've got health regen, I'd be saying you need to just go for duration of the Devil Trigger, because that is what's going to increase your survivability the most. But again, you can't quite do that in this mode, because you haven't got the resources to do so, because you don't have Devil Trigger to recharge your health. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But now I'm just using the Untouchable here because it should see this fight off. Okay, that's good. That isn't. Might just have to play the distance game here. This is going to be quite close. There we are. It's a shame I had to spend Untouchable there, but if it means I can save money on Yellow Orbs, all the better, because Yellow Orbs are for some reason 5,000 in this mode. That's not a bad amount of DT, or Red Orbs even, to be fair. And that should be the end of the mission. Give me a sec, I'm just checking something. Okay, there's one in the goat ship, I know that one. One in the corrupted world. Yeah, there's not many naturally occurring Untouchables. but I should probably buy one now just to be safe, because I know there is a couple to be had. So ideally I don't want to pick up an untouchable when I haven't even bought one, because then I only have one in my inventory. As if I can buy one and then pick one up, I've then got two to spend. And that might come in clutch for the next major, the next round with Milo. Because I don't want to spend untouchables on Griffin. It's just not worth it. Especially because he can be quite easily cheated with the guns. You can just stand back and pelt him with grenades without any real consequence because of how he attacks. He doesn't have any blocking, so he can't block it like Neo can. Alright then, let's buy one. Yeah, the yellow wolves is 3,000. So for 2 yellow wolves it'd be 1 untouchable, which isn't really a fair trade, I'd say, because the untouchable is just far more versatile than a yellow wolf ever will be. Especially for some of the challenges. And here we are. It is the underwater sections. These are dreadful. I don't know what's going on here, but oh, this is a devil trigger timer. Yeah, it was a warning for the devil trigger mode. Outlook Nays, they don't really have a problem with it. Mission 12. There should be one around here, actually. I was just having a look online, and there is an untouchable inside the ship, which will be quite useful, really. That's the way you're meant to go in, but if I remember, there is a cheap yellow orb to get up on top of the ship. And I need to finish the mission before I can go up there. Yeah, these trauma controls are quite dreadful though. You look up and down, you look left and right with the left analog stick. Right analog stick does nothing here. And just tap A to swim. Standard controls though for the needle gun is just like the regular weapons where you just tap R1 to aim and then you use square to shoot. Where was that untouchable? Ooh, that's new. Alright. Not messing with these guys, just straight to E3. I'm down from just a few Infernos. That's one of the main reasons why Inferno is so good in this game, is they can deal with what is, in my opinion, the worst enemy in this game. Because these Frosts are just so good at destroying you. Because I've got a versatile attack moveset, and one of their main attacks is a little close range shockwave attack, which 9 times out of 10 is pulled off when you're right beside them, which is, unless you can see it coming, quite an easy and cheap hit. In this chest? Alright, that's a Devil Star. Was it in here? Oh yeah, and underwater the blades attack by shooting their claws at you. They do have a couple extra attacks though, such as when you're at really low health, they will. I think it's a roundhouse kick. Again, it's been a while since I've seen that attack, but they do have an extra move at their disposal. That wasn't in here. Where was it? I know it's around here. Yeah, I know it is. It's in a chest. Oh, I didn't think this through. That shockwave attack has really deceptive range. But again, just Inferno and that solved most of your problems. So it's right at the back. Yeah, it is untouchable. That's 2 in the inventory. And that should be enough for Nilo, but again, it all depends. Right, well, I've done their fight. I'm just going to try and escape them. If I can't use them for a bit of Devil Trigger gauge. The Devil Trigger powered grenade launcher is really good at damage, which is probably how I need to approach Griffin. Use Devil Triggered grenade launcher to really lay on the damage. The base damage for the grenade launcher is good, but it's really not great because of the whole 2.5 health. So being able to stack the Devil Trigger onto the grenade launcher will really help with damage output. If I remember, if you do a stinger from here, not this one, I think it's here. Oh no, it's this one even. I remember it's one of these ones. As long as you do a stinger jump to the edge of the boat, you get a yellow orb / blue orb fragment for your troubles. Which brings us up to 37. Quite good for this stage of the game anyway. But I mean, I said 25 last time was good. Not this time. Ideally, I want to bring this up to... I want to keep this above 30 for the third fight for Griffin. Because, I mean, the third fight of Griffin isn't bad, but it's one of those things where I don't want to waste my yellow orbs on him because he's not really worth them. Neither Angelo and Nightmare is where I'm expecting to lose my yellow orbs. So I just need to make sure I keep as much of a stockpile until then. So, of course, there's a Death Scythe. Again, just the Death Scythe. Just bait them, wait for them to come to you, or let them just swipe you up and just destroy you. But with the Death Scythe, just keep distance, keep them baited, and once you've got the chance, just jump and Helm's Break. Ideally, as I said last time, doing an air hike into an Helm Breaker will usually be deflected by them because they can see it coming. But if you jump off a wall and then do the Helm Breaker, they usually don't see it as often, which is how I'd recommend to deal with them. If you're feeling lucky, you can try and get it with just a single jump, but that's playing with fire, I'd say. Just try and get your wall kick in, and that should help with your odds of getting them. Or if you're feeling lucky, you could try and jump off them, because I think that works quite well as well. But again, I don't really try and jump off of the Death Scythe, so I'd leave them. Yeah, and this is where you really start feeling the pressure. Because of the previously mentioned problems with you can't really do a reliable Helm Breaker whilst you're Devil Triggered. When the enemies, well, when the Death Scythes are Devil Triggered, you're going to take a lot longer to get them. Just because of the whole Devil Trigger mode gives them much higher health counts. There we are. Because that normally would have taken me 4 or 5 attacks to get going, but this one took me quite a few more. Was it here I needed to light the candles, or is it? Oh no, these naturally light up from the fight. Speaking of fights, here's Featherface. Yes, I think he had a voice lines in this cutscene. Oh, and this is the first time you'll have heard this track on my stream. This one is just called Flock Off, in reference to the first thing he says to Griffin. Which is a line so popular that even Bayonetta references it. Now this little phoenix thing, that is the main threat in this fight, I'd say. Just because it lingers for so long. And whilst you're distracted with the Phoenix thing, that's when Griffin usually comes to pelt you with his lightning attacks. Oh. What am I doing? I should try and air raid him. That's it, this fight in the ghost ship can be a problem, just because there's so much to deal with in this fight. But Yeah, it's just a matter of not trial and error, but just perseverance. As for real strategies, I don't have one for this fight. I just try and see where the wind takes me. Normally it leaves me high up on the ship. That's where I usually end up, on the masts, because I think that's the easiest way to get to the Griffin. I'm never sure if this game had any elemental weakness system, so it strikes me like it would. Just because this game has a lot of mechanics working in the background. But again, it's just I've not really done any experimentation. I mean, there's certainly some kind of weakness system put in for like the frosts and stuff to be more weak to the fruit gloves, to say the Elasta. But again, there's nothing really concrete proof for it. Yeah, this really isn't ideal, especially because the camera's fighting me a lot this map. I said that Phoenix is just very distracting. He takes up a lot of health as well. So which I had a better strategy for him, there's nothing I can really think of. Yeah, but as I've said before, Devil Trigger grenade launcher on Griffin usually works quite a treat, and that's probably how I'm going to stick to it, because he's just too much of a risk in general. Just can't really get good beat on him. Before go down to 30, and that's it. I can't afford anymore. Yeah, they're all spent on this feather face. One game, don't want to be triggering Alastair's air raid just yet. I just want to be trying to get some grenade launcher shots off on Griffin. Nah, it's not working. Especially because of that, just get locked in place. again, just this Phoenix is so unpredictable. He sometimes doesn't do damage, he sometimes does. There's no real way to tell what he's going to do until he does it. I think it has something to do with the glow, but again, just I can't be sure. Getting that Phoenix, there's no real way to deal with him. It's just a pain. Just thinking of a strategy. Actually, I mean, I've got plenty of holy waters, so I might just spend some of them. I'll see how it goes, because I mean, I've not got many yellow orbs until I need to restart anyway. Yeah, that's it. That's probably the last one, so. Let's just see how much holy water would do on him. Okay, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to use 2 holy waters on him. There. Dealt with now. Shame I had to spend holy waters, but holy waters are quite replaceable. Enter the door, and that is the end of the mission. Thankfully. I don't really care at this point. Probably because I spent items. The game doesn't really like people using items. But anyway, that's that mission done with. And up next is Abyss. It's quite an easy little mission. I'm just gonna have to knock it out because it's easy. Because it's primarily underwater, so there's not much of a challenge, so to say. still can't afford to buy holy waters though, so that's a little bit concerning, because if I absolutely have to, I can spend 3 or 4 to just cheat a boss fight. But I have a feeling I can only carry 3 of them. And I also get a really big feeling that there's not many frequent holy waters locations. I'm just going to quickly look into it. I know there's quite a few around, because I've hit 9 of them. Okay, I'm just looking into it. There is a soft lock of 5, so that's good. What's it about? Any orbs I'm looking at? Red orbs, green orbs, yellow orbs, little fragment. The water. Oh, yeah, there's quite a few hidden around. Mission 14 has 2 of them, in fact. That's good. Grab the staff. Grab the staff, and it sinks. Because for some reason the staff is tied to the buoyancy of a boat. Don't ask me how, it's magic to me. I'll have to say one thing though. Because of the HD collection, the underwater effect is very poor. The original PS2 version had this really nice looking underwater effect, which, you know, was disorientating to say the least, because it was very wavy and mysterious, but, you know, it did its job, I'd say. Oh, these guys. However, there is one item to be had before we go out. Let's turn around. Go back in this little stairway. It was empty before, but this time there should be a blue orb fragment, or in its place now a yellow orb. Which, again, just I need as many yellow orbs as I can get, and that's just good news. That's just good advice in general. It's never too late to have too many yellow orbs, because you never know when you might need them. I mean, granted, you could go pure, well, not purist, but you know, you could go hardcore and just not use them. That's how I did my first run on PC, because I've had a fair bit of experience with this on PS2, but for my first run on here, made normal difficult, I just made sure to not use any yellow orbs. Yeah, just use the odd vital star here and there whenever a situation called for it, namely Nightmare, because I still find Nightmare to be poorly designed, and I can't quite counter him well. Something similar like that of the shadows my first time through, but now that I've gotten used to the more finer details in this game, such as the critical kills mechanic, I don't have much problems with shadows, thankfully. Same with the nobodies. The nobodies used to give me a lot of problems before because of everything set up around it. Like, you know, I found their acid attacks and some of the other moves they had at their disposal they were far too problematic. And then I started finding out that, oh, if I do a high time, if I stay on the ground and do a high time, so just launch them up, it puts them onto their hind legs and they're stunned for a second, and then within that time frame you can then start to get into town and do a lot of sword combo on them whilst they're stunned, which is quite a good way to eliminate them. As well as just using a shotgun on their faces. That works quite well. There is a new secret mission now though. It only shows up just now, and to get it you have to be in this intermission phase between mission 14 and 15. You come back, you go to the right into the ventilation shaft, and then from there you just inspect the dead captain. And this one is pretty easy because it's just an underwater fight, and no matter the difficulty, underwater fights aren't that bad because the blades don't really have many advanced techniques. It's just claw attack every now and then, but most of the time they're just shooting their claws at you. As long as you keep wary of the launch attack, then not much of a problem. Although they do have a devil trigger mode, which is a shock for me really. I didn't think they'd have underwater devil trigger because devil trigger is disabled underwater for Dante. So I figured this game would have had the same rules for the blades. All that matters though, the blades aren't that threatening, even when they are devil triggered. One left, there it is. And the other orb. Mission complete. Now that's said and done, we can actually head back to the mission proper. Thankfully this is like the only time in the game you have to swim. There's only one other section where it pops up, and that's very late in the game, so you don't have to worry about it too much. There we are. But before you go, just make sure to grab this blue orb fragment in the lake, or yellow orb if it's New Game Plus, and you've already got it. I think that's it for items around here. If it isn't, it doesn't really matter too much, I'm done. Shotgun. Shotgun's the best for the marionettes, I'd say. Just because it means you can really get close and just stun them into death. I remember there was a treasure chest in this little alcove that had an item in it. There we are, another holy water. That's made back up to 8. Thankfully it's quite good like that. I'd say if anything, it's been kind of worthwhile using that those 2 holy waters on Griffin. First and head for the Colosseum. Oh yeah, we're heading back to the Colosseum properly. There's nothing really noteworthy in here. Yeah, it's just sin scissors, they're nothing special. They exist. That's all to be known about them. Just get up close, use your shotgun, inflict good damage. If you're lucky though, you can get a critical kill, which is a 1-hit. But I've never been reliable at that critical kill, so I don't even know if it's available in Dante Must Die mode. Because the critical kill for the shadows only works if you're in Devil Trigger mode, just because of the sheer increase in health. Whereas normally on the shadows you could just critically kill them without any real problem. Because as long as they're stunned quite a while, which gives you more than enough time to go in for the kill, so to say. There's one more. Okay, I think the critical seal is still in the place. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know though. That's close to a critical kill I can think of. And the arm clicks the lever. That opens up the doorway. And then from there, booby traps on. Just play it safe, don't act stupid, and you'll come out of it with any real problem. I get a bit hyperactive and jumpy in that, so I usually jump into a spike or two by accident. Come round to this skeleton painting thing. I don't know what to describe it as, a carving. That is a secret mission pathway later. In fact, I want to say the next mission, in fact. This is us returning to the Colosseum. Up here is a blue orb fragment, or a yellow orb for me. You can either get that by air hiking from here, or the game intends, if you don't have the air hike, is you go here, wall kick on here, if it will work. The wall kick's a bit picky in this game. Like, oh come on. There we are. I could have sworn I meant to jump onto that and then land on the pillar and then jump, but if not, just jump on the pillar, wall jump off and grab the ledge, and from there you jump over here up this waterfall, climb up even further. There's another yellow orb up here, and then from here you just stinger across and you land on the platform without any real hassle. Of course, video game logic kicks in behind the waterfall, and there's another holy water, so that's me back up to 9. There's no items I need to buy yet from the statue, and quite a good thing too, because this means I've gone back to the amount of red orbs I had before this stream. Oh, that's a big blade. There's nothing special about the size, they're just bigger. I think they hit a bit harder, but again, that might just be misremembering. Again, even though it's a bit picky and awkward at points, air raid with a Laster is such a beautiful move. Just because it means you can really keep out of distance and inflict some major damage. Not to mention, unlike the other guns in this game, because of the way air raid works and because it requires the devil mode of a Laster, you're given full aerial control whilst you're doing it, which is amazing when it comes to dodging attacks, because most enemies, barring maybe Griffin, don't have many aerial attacks, so you're pretty much out of danger's way for a while. Anyway, there's still a few blades on me, it doesn't matter. But I get up here, another fragment, I believe. This, I think it was a fragment, it's a yellow orb for me, so I can't confirm. And come up here and there's another one of these red orb column things. I don't know what they are, but they're brought back in pretty much every Devil May Cry game, I think. Don't know about 2 though. 2 is just an oddball game in general though. That. Okay, they're getting angry. I need to get out. Yeah. And to pay the toll of 200 red orbs. Nothing special. That's a good thing I got the what I did there, because normally I'd get shadows down there, or a death scythe, sometimes a death scissor, if I'm lucky. There we are. Again, that's how you ideally want to be dealing with death scythes, just keep a bit of distance, but also really get up in their face a bit, so you can just aggro them and just destroy them. Nothing down there. Orb cache there, that's not bad. The door, and that should be mission complete. Yeah. Oh, that's Trish, because I think just about every living person that played this game kind of forgot about Trish for a few minutes. Oh. Quite surprised that was an A-round run. There was spending a lot of time wasted. Anyway, on to the next mission. Conquer the Colosseum. Yeah, this is the fight with Griffin Phase 3. And before I do that, I might as well go back and do that secret mission. Because if I remember, the secret mission is quite easy. In fact, most of the secret missions in this game are, barring a couple outliers. And it would be quite worth our time, I'd say, because the yellow orb will be more than worth it. Yep, that's what I usually get. Oh, it's 3 shadows this time, just what I always wanted. Yeah, just get out, get out, get out. Back down the elevator. Skull? There we are, yeah. And it's just a simple defeat all enemies. Or is it what I think it is? Oh, it's a shadow. I'm gonna air raid him out. I don't want to deal with the shadow in here. There we are, that's him dead. I was working on the evasion. In the meantime, go back to the handguns because that was a lucky little melt there for him, but that's not going to happen with the next shadow. Yeah, just, as I said before, just keep in the air. That's the only thing you really can do to counter a shadow. Until it comes to these spikes, and then you jump, air hike into a different direction. That confuses the spikes for a bit, I'd say. Same with the shadows in general. Just jump over them, air hike backwards, and that seems to juke them out for a second. Okay, what happened there? I didn't melee them. Oh, and that's right, I spend the yellow orbs on a secret mission. No, that's not worth doing again, I'd say. Because if I lost there, then I'd lose an orb in general. Pop back in. Anyway, what were we doing? Oh, it's another death scythe, no one really cares. Ah, yeah, it's Cyclops. But if I remember correctly, there is an untouchable in here. Yes, it should be. It should be right where Ifrit was. Again, this is technically a new room, according to the stream anyway, because I bypassed this room before to skip the fight with Griffin for the first time. Because there's no point in having an extra fight that you don't need to do. Okay, again, thanks for that. As I've said before, if you can hit them in the back, they fall over. If they fall over, you just do a helm breaker on them, and that is an instant kill on them. As you see there, they even have a special death animation for it. I need to just move. That's the simple blade. There we are. Again, it's one of the most satisfying things to do with the blades, in my opinion. Just get behind and make them fall over, and then just watch them just completely bleed out, and then they just fade away. And because it's the critical kill, you even get a bonus set of red orbs for it. Okay, what happened there again? Devil's Stone. Don't really need it, but again, it's better than nothing. I need to keep a reserve for Mundus. Because if I remember correctly, because of the way that the first fight with Mundus goes, it's like a little shooter section. And you can kill him technically with the basic shots, but what they really want you to do is to fill up your Devil Trigger gauge, and then you use that, because activating Devil Trigger and that doesn't give you a Devil Trigger state, so to say. Instead it summons a kind of dragon, and then with that dragon its damage increases with every rune you have on your gauge filled out. So what they really want you to do is just fill it up as much as you can, and if I remember correctly, a fully charged dragon did like, I would say 30%, maybe even close to 40. That's quite a game changer in my opinion. So the strategy I'm going to do for the first phase of Mundus is just grab all the Devil Trigger stars I can get, and then just unleash them on Mundus. Because it's quite a reliable method to just get past that fight without any damage, and then that way I can focus on spending my untouchables, my vital stars, all on the actual fight with Mundus himself, which is probably going to be quite a challenge, I'd say. That's a big red orb. Where's the untouchable? I could have sworn there's an untouchable here. Moved. Right, 7 yellow orbs is pretty good though, won't lie. Oh, unless it's I need to wait until later for it to show up. Like when the darkness falls. Probably is actually, now that I think about it. Because I already have the Nightmare Beta, I don't need to bother with the right hand side. Not right hand side, left hand. So if I remember correctly, this is where I need to go for the Lances to actually progress this mission. Again, that's the fetch just being a bit of a pain. Illuminate, no, that's useful. I'm just gonna have a 10-second break. I'll be back in, a matter of seconds, really. And I am back. So then, I was saying, generally the fetishes are quite a pain in this mode, just because of the way they work. In fact, you can see it on the enemy file if I find it. Somewhere down here. There they are, the fetishes. One of their things is if you do standard attacks and you don't vary them up enough, they can just instantly counter it. And if they counter your attack with their flame breath, it does a lot of damage. And it's not only just a single attack for the flame is split up into like 3 or 4 attacks, which is quite problematic in my opinion, because it just, especially in this mode where you've not got the health, it can ruin you. Thankfully the fetishes are quite weak, so I think it's 3 grenades kill them. Yeah, 3 grenades can kill them quite easily. Just, again, if you're doing the grenade method, just make sure they get eliminated quickly, because again, if you do the roll cancel, the grenades are quite fast. But because of the whole devil trigger mechanic of this difficulty, they're just not very pleasant when they're devil triggered up. I don't. Blue orb or yellow orb down here. Again, I think it's a blue orb fragment. I can't be too sure because it's been a while since I've collected the fragments. Oh, and going forward, I do intend to stream the whole Devil May Cry series on Dante Must Die. So before those streams each happen, I'll be prepping each of them, like getting all of the collectibles and such. Because that way around, I can very easily just make the Dante Must Die mode just a straightforward run through. I don't have to worry about getting diverted from blue orb fragment hunting, because the blue orb fragments in this game are, well, in the series as a whole, are quite annoying to find. 3 is quite good at it, I'd say, but 2 is dreadful for blue orbs. They're so hard to find. And because that game has the whole, it has a similar health bar style to this game where there isn't increments to them, it's really hard to count to see how many more units you have to collect to max out your health bar. Because that's a system 3 introduces, which I'm very grateful for, where the health bar actually got like segments to them, and that way you can tell a lot more from it, such as what your actual HP is equivalent to, but also what damage is equal to, because with these bars you can roughly guess it, because the wrong button. If you see here on the health bars, because obviously you've got the bit at the start that looks like a bit like a blade handle. If you look across, there is like little notches square in the middle, and they've got a little white line going straight through them, and I believe that is the center of the health bar. So you have got that rough guidance, which is better than nothing, but it's still not ideal. Yeah, and because we've grabbed the Lancers, darkness has fallen, which means that the Kyclops that used to be out here, at least on hard mode and above, are now Death Scythes, which really aren't fun to deal with. I just double check this room. Sad. There's not blades, are there? I think that's just the atmosphere. There's something up there now, which I think is the Untouchable. Yeah, that's an untouchable. That's 3 stacked up, just in case Nilo Angelo is as much for pain as I thought. Of course, I was intending to say that for Nightmare, Nilo Angelo comes first, and he is a lot more threatening than Nightmare could ever be, just because of how dangerous his moves are. But anyway, this is the final fight with Griffin. So before that happens, what I'm going to do is just save, so that if everything does go tits up, and I need to start over, yeah, let's say I spend 15 yellow orbs or something, I get down to say 25, that's my limit. I can just restart, and I've still got my untouchables and holy waters built up. It won't start me straight back at this room though. I still have to do the mission from scratch, which is a very strange move, but it's better than nothing, I say. Before I forget, going up here is a blue orb fragment, and that's, if I remember correctly, this was one of the last blue orb fragments I got. Just because I never thought to come up here at the start of the fight, because it's, you know, you usually just run straight into the middle and check what this sign is, and then bam, you're into the Griffin fight. You can't collect this orb fragment whilst you're in the fight. Same with that one at the ship, where you have to do a stinger jump onto the tip of the mast. That just never occurred to me during my playthroughs until I looked into it to complete the blue orbs. I think we're ready for equipment. Yeah, I've got a grenade gun ready. We've got a lasso ready. This is it. Destiny. Anyway, here we are, fight 3 with Griffin. This is where stuff is nasty. He has so many lightning attacks at his disposal, which are just almost impossible to dodge well. This one is quite easy to dodge though, where he just shoots a beam and an orb. That one can be quite easily dodged. Unfortunately, because this is the last fight with Griffin, it's the last time you hear Flock Off, which is probably one of my more, it's probably my second favourite boss theme actually, next to Ultraviolet. Third place has to be Red Hot Juice, honestly, and then Mundus comes in last. I just don't remember Mundus' track that much. Right, there are green orbs up the very top of this Colosseum, but this is my first run on DMD mode, and I'm definitely not going to get my first time around. So this is just a dry test run, so to say. Just checking patterns and stuff, because it's been a while since I fought Griffin. I mean, he's got plenty of moves at his disposal, but he's also quite predictable at the same time. Granted, there's still major moves that he can pull off, which will destroy you, but for the most part, he is quite good. Yeah, he's quite, not well behaved, but you know, he's usually quite predictable and dodgeable if you know what move is coming. Such as that ball and line one. That one's really easy to dodge through, but then you get his grid attack, which is just nightmarish. I don't know what happened there. I was trying to dodge roll and just didn't read my inputs. Kept on trying to put it in as a jump or something, which just didn't work. Yeah, see that grid move there? That one is nigh undodgeable, I find. I mean, I'm certain there's a way to get around it, but I just have more problems with it than any other move he has. Normally with that grid attack, I try and go above it or below it by using the discs that he spawns, but that is a risk half the time. Sometimes it just doesn't pay off. Thankfully though, unlike the second fight, he doesn't have the little Phoenix companion thing, which is just an ultimate pain. Really done enough damage to him to the point of him into the second phase. Thankfully. And in this phase he's a lot more ground based because I've clipped one of his wings, so to say. Not even clipped, ripped off cleanly, I'd say. Unfortunately he seems to have a lot more health. And he has this move which is just a real pain to deal with. But I never get to be able to dodge that move effectively. You know what? I've got holy waters, I might as well spend them on him. I don't want to waste any more time on this guy. Maybe not. Need to find a way to better dodge that attack in the middle of that second phase. That's just the absolute deal breaker, I'd say. Shame the camera wasn't a bit better in this part. There we are. Second phase. A little bit of luck. Upstairs should still be open. If the camera didn't mess me up. Like it just did there. Brilliant. Thanks, game. That's the one thing that this game really hasn't aged well with is the camera. It's really awkward at points. Good for the most part, but there's a few angles where it's just like, no, again, there's a better angle you could have made there. Like the ghost ship, or this fight. But yeah, no, I mainly pin that down to just Griffin being aerial based. Again, the grenade launcher dodge roll combo is really killer, just because of the really good fire that you can pull off of it. Before I do next phase, I might as well teleport upstairs. Get my free green orb. Oh, again, the camera can just ruin me like that. Yeah, we'll try to run across. Nope. God, this camera's terrible. Again, it's just Griffin is such an awkward little fight. Thankfully, neither Angela isn't as bad. The camera in there is quite contained, but it's quite a small room, and there's not much that really ruins it. There we are, second phase. Again, this fight is just strangely awkward at the run points. Like right there, the camera wasn't any good. Again, 25 is my lower limit. But if I don't get in before 25, I'll probably end the stream here and just try it again Tuesday. Okay, now even this section's trying to give me hassle. Complete hassle. Lovely. Yeah, and once again, camera. I'm just gonna have a look online for a second. There's got to be a better way around this. Nothing I can see. Just need to try and get a bit of distance on him. From too far away, so he does the wall. If I can get a bit closer, he stops doing some of the more annoying attacks he has. Come on, game. There we are. Alright, on to phase 2. Bad distancing, and he's not really throwing much for hassle. Again, I'm just waiting for him to prove me wrong, because he likes to do that time and time again. Like right now, why is he doing the lightning walls? I'm too close to him. I really need to drop an untouchable on him. Thanks again, thanks again, thanks again. Okay, grenade, thanks for that. Come on, Dante, why are you missing all these shots? It's probably the last grenade for him as well, nope. There's a yellow orb up here, didn't know that. Right, there we are, second phase. Oh well, let's try E-Fruit for a chance. Oh, man. Don't know what they want me to do anymore. It's just ridiculous. I can't find anything else on him. They're saying handguns work on him, so I might as well give him a shot. Because unlike the grenade launcher, it might actually hit him. Okay, Ebony and Ivory are doing decent damage on him. Can't anticipate when he does something like that. Phase 2, it's good. Hopefully he shouldn't be able to hit me in mid-air with air raid. Camera. Oh, at least I'm getting somewhere though. Ebony and Ivory for second phase seems to be the way to go. First phase though, I should probably still stick with grenade launcher until he's too far out of range. The other orbs do I have left? 30. Did I have 38? It's hard to say anymore. I'm just thinking actually we should probably just restart. Now I'll do one more time with this strat, see how it goes. If it goes well, then I'll restart and then I can preserve that yellow orb that I got. Too far out of range now, so back to handgun. Yeah. It's a fairly good attack one. Yeah, I don't know how the game expects me to dodge that attack. That's just impossible. Hmm. Yeah, that strategy works, but again, just end of that mission comes in and it's just like the phase just comes in and he starts doing that electric rain. It's just really a problem. Alright, let's go back. Where does this put me? Oh, okay, it puts me back up here, so it's not completely from start. So to go down here. Let's see, do I still have the 3 untouchables? Yes, I do. That's good. Yeah, I'm thinking that handguns with phase 2 works quite well. I just need to find a better alternative to that Thunder Rain attack, because I just don't see a way to avoid it. Unless I just swallow an untouchable at that point and just forget about it, because it's probably the best alternative at the moment, because it's the only way I can guarantee safety. Lances, good. That's all back up. Doesn't matter, I'm just coming in for a visit. Okay, I thought I wasn't touching those spikes. Actually, I might as well drain the Devil Trigger gauge for a second to show you what these are. Oh, this is the Elastiform. Yeah, this is just a little I don't know what exactly it's meant to be, but it's recharge your devil trigger. It's a very strange thing though, because I think this is one of the only times this ever appears in the game. And it's such a strange idea, and I'm wondering if it was a scrapped mechanic of some kind. So, you know, just adding in creates like survival horror elements, because this game does have plenty of survival styled horror elements to it. It's just, it doesn't act on them fully because it's not what it's meant to be. Especially since this game is quite famous for being a planned version of Resident Evil 4 at some point during Resi 4's very messy development cycle. Whoa. See, 38 yellow orbs, there's one up top. I can grab it later. Question is, how am I going to work about this? Okay, yeah, this run's a bust. Absolute bust. It should be within the next phase, but apparently it's not. I don't know why that took so long to trigger. It's meant to be there. I wish I could give a better analogy of this fight. Not analogy, analysis, but there's really nothing I can say. It's just a messy fight in general. Again, what's that thundering attack? There's nothing you can do. It's just... there's gotta be something. Let me have a look. Attacks. Yeah, it seems to be just apparently a dodge roll can affect those bolts. But again, I'm not too sure anymore because this is all just a bit messy, really. So, just gonna have to give that another shot, I guess. Starting to give me some proper behaviour now. It's getting too risky. Back to the handgun. Where's he not? Okay, he's doing this a lot more there, that's good. Had to fall down or what? There we are. Okay, again, that was useful. There we are, that's how I meant to do it properly, just air hikes really. Oh, they can do that. Beautiful. I'm not going to get in this match. Do I? Yeah, I'm going to have to. Get back here. Had enough of dealing with this griffin. I'll get plenty of holy waters later. Off. There we are. Good. No more griffin, I've had enough of them.
beat him. Maybe it was too easy for you.
Mundus. His heinous ways make me sick, killing even his own, like they were nothing. He's the one that took the life of my mother, my brother, Shirley. My mother used to always tell me that my father was a man who fought for the people. He had courage and a righteous heart. In the name of my father, I will kill Mundus.
And that wraps up Griffin. If it even counts as a Dante kill there, I don't know. I'd say it's more of a Mundus kill if anything. But anyway, after the mission's all said and done, you just go into that spike inside here and you collect the Wheel of Destiny, I believe it's called. Yeah, Wheel of Destiny. It sounds like a really bad game show, but you know, that's it. No more Griffin, thankfully. I don't care, just give me the ranking. No boss bonus there, it's a bit of a shame. But with that, that's mission 15 complete. Might as well do mission 16 before I call it a day. Because there's nothing too bad. And the problem is I did waste a few holy waters, which I probably shouldn't have, but better than getting stuck at the Griffin, I'd say. Oh yeah, the game just gives you a free blue orb fragment there, which is now a yellow orb. But never understood that one. I think it's just might have been cut content, I'd say. Like maybe there was plans to have in an extra area, and there was plans for items in there. Might even be why they had the Devil Trigger rooms. Or it might have been planning something where you can only, you know, there's like constant health drain unless you're Devil Triggered. And then it just got scrapped or something. But on the plus side though, because I didn't pick up those green orbs before, they now count as red orbs. Just need to fly across. Right, yeah. There wasn't much in there. The elevators are completely destroyed now. I'm going to assume that crystal thing in the middle was sort of power source. But no, didn't need to go in there. But again, it's just speculation on my end. I'm not sure what caused them to break so easily. If you remember, just after I grab that yellow orb, just gonna try and take out this death scythe. Just, it might be worthwhile. No, it's not. I bought. It was unnaturally close. That's weird. It's not meant to be that zoomed in. But oh well. But now, if you remember way back to mission 8 or 9, there was a reason to come down. But when we came back, this bridge road was shut, and that is where the Wheel of Destiny will go. I just thought I'd double check up here first, just make sure there wasn't any red orbs. Oh, okay, they do refresh. Because I know for certain I've grabbed these before. But a free set of red orbs is always appreciated. There we are. 3600 red orbs. Quite good. Another devil star, that's 16. Good. Nothing else worth buying just yet. So just proceed. I'm just prematurely equipping Ifrit because I'm certain, because in normal mode this is where the plasmas are introduced, but on hard mode and above they've introduced in those sewers. But with the plasmas, the Elastor doesn't work that well against them. I mean, I'm certain it does a minimal amount of damage. It's not completely zero, but you know, it's so poor that it's worth just getting it. You know, going to E3 gloves because that's what they're meant for. But there's one of the enemies, or it might be a shadow. It's hard to tell anymore. Never too sure. I'm fairly certain it's a plasma up here. That yellow orb first, going out, bring him up to 40. Probably a good thing since I think this is the first encounter of Nightmare. Well, in this mission anyway. I'm hoping it isn't, but I'm also wagering that it is. Yeah, that's the plasma. And just like good old fashioned tradition, it starts off with a sucker punch attack. They're not that hard to deal with. As long as you've got E3, they die quite quickly. Although they do have a gimmick, if you take too long to kill them, they will split off into two, which can be quite problematic. Again, that's one of those things that won't happen too often. As long as you've got E3 out, they'll usually be gone before they can even think about splitting. It's only in a big room with multiple that they might think about it. I think it's just around here we need to go. Because I think we've got an encounter with Phantom. Ugh. Grenade gun. Yeah. Plus side, I think these are intermittent spawning. If it all gets a bit too desperate, I might just come here after the stream and do red orb farming. Because I'm nowhere near enough amount of red orbs I want. Because I'm expecting to spend an untouchable on every Nightmare fight. Probably 2 on Nilo Angelo phase 3. And then I also want some left over for Mundus. $36,000's enough for now. Yep, it's time for a fight with everyone's favourite Nightmare. Ugh. Quite an appropriate name really, because this guy's an horrid fight. A fairly good boss fight though. Well, the theme though. Not in the actual fight itself. The fight itself is just dreadful. I absolutely hate this fight with a passion. It's just so messy. The only badge I have is just kick 13 in Inferno at most Devil triggered on E3. It's the only reliable way to found damage, as well as the previously mentioned absorption method, but I'm saving that for later, once it's lower in health and it gets more desperate on its attacks. Because once it's like, say, low mid health, I can use it as an opportunity to get my health back, since I'm fairly certain that the Nightmare phase does give you health back after it. Okay, that thing's got an even longer range than I thought. Okay, I need to just get absorbed now. I'm not going to get any better. There we are. And in each side, each Nightmare section is a mini version of each boss you have fought. It's in order though, so the first one is Phantom, and then it's Griffin, and then it's Nilo Angelo. Okay. But it's based off of... It's not based off who you encounter first, because if it was, it would be Phantom, Nilo, and then Griffin. It's based off of who you kill last, well, who you kill first. Because it would be, you know, we met Phantom, and then we met Nilo. We killed Phantom, and then we met Griffin. Then we fought Nilo for the second time, and then it was Griffin for the second and last time to kill them. And then obviously last is Nilo because he's not dead yet. But again, this fight is just nasty, I think. It's just a strangely set up fight. And I think it's one of those ones which will get better. Like the second fight isn't too bad, but the first one is just terrible. And the third one is just the stuff of nightmares. Nope, looks like I'm getting absorbed a bit too early. I mean, it's still better than nothing, but I really wanted to wait until, you know, he was half health or so, because this is just far too early for my liking. Waiting for that last Sargazo. Where is the last Sargazo? Oh, there he is. It's just Phantom. Thankfully they've got next to no health, so quite easy. So what I'm probably going to have to resort to is just doing grenade gun pot shots just to keep distance and keep health. Okay, I was on the other side of him and that hit me. Maybe not grenade gun pot shots then. I mean, I could do air raid, but I don't want to waste my ammo. Not my ammo, my devil trigger. Or something so meaningless. So I really need to be pushing my absorbed phase until far later. So, let's see, just knock that, knock that. So I don't need a grenade gun for this fight. It's useless. It's a shame this fight is such a beefer. I don't see why this guy needs so much help. He doesn't need it. Okay, look out for that ice beam. It's lethal. Okay, I thought I was gonna bounce off of his head, but maybe not. But again, the Nightmare in general is just a terrible fight because he's so counterintuitive. You have to wait and dodge before something comes up. He's got ungodly amounts of health. There's just everything that could go wrong in a boss fight, really. Yeah, I'd say that even on normal mode. On Dante Must Die mode, he certainly lives up to his name. Bad damage, but I could have done a lot better. Again, the problem with this fight is the Nightmare can just be very temperamental. Like sometimes he'll do that really long jab attack, which is just really hard to see coming, and it's really high damaging. Other times he'll just do the easy stuff like, or he can just use the ice beam. That's what everyone wants. That's decent enough. Now I just need to delay the inevitable so I can get swallowed. There. That way I should be able to come back out with a good amount of health. But most importantly, he'll be significantly damaged to the point where I could probably just spam holy waters on him. Right, back to Alaster. No clean way to attack Night Phantom in this zone. Just gotta get lucky, I think. Thankfully, Phantom's quite susceptible to air raid, just because of how it works. I mean, it misses half the time apparently, but yeah, if you can get a clean angle on him, it's usually quite good at getting damage off in a burst. There we are. Can be from is a hash or Phantom. It's just gonna be one of these days. Okay, I thought I was going to be covered by that bit of building, but maybe not. Is there anything I'm missing? I don't think we're a good way to go about it. I want to have been with E3 on the cause, but again, that's hard to confirm, really. It's a wait and pray, really. Okay, what happened there? Wasn't letting me land on top of him. Okay, what's he doing this round? He's not behaving at all. It does a fair bit of damage.